Hello everyone, welcome to Super English Grammar. Please take pen and paper and note down all the 20 advanced English words that you can use in your everyday English conversation in place of very plus adjective. IELTS aspirants should also write down these words with meanings and examples so that they can use them in their speaking and writing tests. Number one, use cautious in place of very careful. Very careful means to make sure of avoiding future dangers, and cautious also means to avoid potential dangers. Example, be cautious about clicking on spammy links. Thus, cautious means to be very careful. Number two, use effortless in place of very simple. Very simple means of something easily understood or done, and effortless means something uncomplicated that doesn't require any effort. Example, making tea is effortless for me. Thus, effortless can be used in place of very simple. Number three, use ancient in place of very old. Very old here means something that belongs to the past or the earliest time, and ancient means something that belongs to the very distant past. Example, the Chinese civilization is one of the ancient civilizations in the world. Thus, ancient means something very old. Number four, use petrified in place of very afraid. Very afraid means very frightened, feeling fear or anxiety, and petrified means extremely frightened. Example, my little son is petrified of being on his own in the house at night. Thus, petrified means very frightened and can be used in place of very afraid. Number five, use distraught in place of very upset. Very upset here means being unhappy, disappointed, or worried. And distraught means very worried and upset. Example, they were all distraught over the loss of their grandmother. Thus, distraught means extremely worried, unhappy, or upset. Number six, use sagacious in place of very wise. Very wise means a person who is able to make good judgments based on knowledge and experience. And sagacious means having the ability to judge well. Example, John makes good judgments. He is really a sagacious person. Thus, sagacious means the person having the ability to make good judgments and can be used in place of very wise. Number seven, use adorable in place of very cute. Very cute means attractive or pretty, especially in a childish, youthful, or delicate way. And adorable means inspiring great affection and delight because of appealing appearance. Example, John has two really adorable cats. Thus, adorable means very cute. Number eight, use overjoyed in place of very glad. Very glad means feeling great pleasure or happiness, and overjoyed means extremely happy. Example, my parents were overjoyed at my success. Thus, overjoyed means extremely happy and can be used in place of very glad. Number nine, use gaunt in place of very thin. Very thin means having too little flesh or fat on the body, and gaunt means over thin because of suffering, hunger, or age. Example, John is an old, tall, and gaunt person. Thus, Gaunt means very thin. Number 10. Use apprehensive in place of very nervous. Very nervous means getting anxious or worried, and apprehensive means anxious or fearful that something bad will happen. Example: John feels apprehensive about being on his own in the house at night. Thus, apprehensive means fearful or anxious and can be used in place of very nervous. Number 11. Use sleek in place of very smooth. Very smooth means having an even and regular surface, polished, and sleek means smooth or glossy. Example: Sophia has sleek hair. Thus, sleek means very smooth. Number 12. Use sluggish in place of very slow. Very slow means not quick or fast, and sluggish means slow moving. Example: My bike feels sluggish. There is something wrong with it. Thus, sluggish means operating or moving very slow and can be used in place of very slow. Number 13. Use scrawny in place of very skinny. Very skinny means of a person unattractively or unusually thin, and scrawny means very thin and bony. Example: John, an old man, has a scrawny physique. Thus, scrawny means very thin or skinny. Number 14. Use delicious in place of very tasty. Very tasty means a food having a pleasant flavor that appeals to tongue, and delicious means highly pleasant to the taste. Example: Everyone likes delicious homemade food. Thus, delicious means highly tasty and can be used in place of very tasty. Number 15. Use excruciating in place of very painful. Very painful here means of a body part affected with pain, and excruciating means extremely painful. Example: John has an excruciating pain in his lower back. Thus, excruciating means very painful. Number 16. Use frail in place of very weak. Very weak means having little physical strength or energy, and frail means of a person very weak or delicate. Example: My grandfather is frail now. Thus, frail means physically weak and can be used in place of very weak. Number 17. Use frequently in place of very often. Very often means regularly or frequently, and frequently means regularly or habitually. Example: They visit London frequently. Thus, frequently means very often. Number 18. Use ferocious in place of very wild. Very wild means having or displaying a violent attitude, and ferocious means severely fierce, cruel, or violent. Example: It's a ferocious beast. Don't go close to it. Thus, ferocious means very wild. Number 19. Use scalding in place of very hot. Very hot means having a high degree of heat, and scalding means extremely hot. Example: The coffee was scalding. Thus, scalding means very hot. Number 20. Use ravenous in place of very hungry. Very hungry means feeling or showing the need for food, and ravenous means extremely hungry. Example: John didn't eat all day. He is ravenous now. Thus, ravenous means very hungry.